So what was the process of getting started after this barbecue, like looking at T-shirts? How'd you find manufacturers? How'd you find partners? Like, how did this all come to be?
So I'm 2015, I moved from San Diego to back in with my parents. And the only way I knew how to go is I needed time, which I hadn't done working a full-time job, and I needed to save money.
Before you go into that, did everyone at your company like freak out? Like, what are you doing? Or did you tell anyone?
Yeah, I left Lambesis, and then I tried to work like a side job in San Diego and maybe try to start it that way, but I just wasn't making any money, and I had to pay rent. And so, but between like, it just wasn't a time saver. But when I remember telling my friends like, hey, I'm moving home, and I didn't tell anyone what I was going to do yet, but everyone's like, I had so many friends in San Diego, and the few people I did tell the idea about, they're like, you're moving home to start a T-shirt brand. Like, are you sure about that? You're gonna name it Cuts. It sounds like a steakhouse or like a hair cutting place.
Your barbecue gloves.
My barbecue gloves. Yeah. So even my parents, who are super supportive, they were questioning it. Didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and so like those are things as a guy you think about. Like, I'm 25 and a half, 25, 26 to 28. Like, it's like your prime, is what they say, and Wenatchee, Washington, where I moved home to, is like a population of like 60,000. I have great friends there and great people, but for a young guy like that loves being in a city, it's a huge step back. Yeah. So I moved home to Washington, moving with my parents. My dad gave me a job, not making a ton of money, but at least I could start saving, and I didn't have to pay rent. So everything that I saved went into, building Cuts. And I really did that for 2 years, and, made trips overseas, back and forth to LA, and really just try to learn the garment business at the same time learning e-com. So it was kind of a juggle. But those 2 years at home were so big because it was almost like a startup incubator. My mom cooked all meals for me, right? So my dad gave me a job.
Good Italian meals, right?
Good Italian meals, good Cuban. My mom makes great Cuban meals. And, my dad like kind of funded the business in terms of, he gave me a job to make money. And I didn't have many friends. So like my whole focus, like from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. really was Cuts. Like, my parents used to get mad at me that I didn't go on dates or anything like that. And I really just focused on it for 2 years.
And where'd you start? Was it just Google, or did you have any connections like with, anyone in the garment industry at the time, or anyone to bounce ideas off of?
That was actually the hardest part. I mean, I didn't even know what a pattern maker was. Like, I was typing how to make a shirt company, and like it was like screen printing. I was like, no, I want to make actually the garment. That word, to find pattern maker, took me 2 months just to learn that word. So I think there were so many roadblocks in like the start, because it was just so hard to, like, just the language. And then when you talk to these manufacturers, they're like, all right, you got to do 10,000 units or we don't even talk to you. So I actually had to like finesse that. And I created like a fake website, and then would send that to them with like other people's shirts and stuff that were, like, it was like a brand. So it could at least get me in the door. And then I would say, yeah, I'm doing like, 10,000 units. Like, I just need a couple samples, because literally people would laugh me out of the production facility. And that whole first year being home, trying to like fight the fight in and out of LA. One time I flew all the way to LA, and this guy's like, oh yeah, your samples are done. I get to the factory, and the guy's like, what brand? And he literally, like, he just was on the phone, yeah, and me. And then I got there, and he was like, oh yeah, like, we don't even have your fabric. It's not even here. Like, and so that, it was a daily battle. And I only think I would have gotten through that scenario. I was so desperate being home and like wanting to live on my own again and make this work, and not be the guy that moved home to start a T-shirt brand that failed. Like that, I went to bed every night. Like, you're 26, you're just this idea, and you're starting a T-shirt brand. Like, that was my reality.
How much doubt was going through your head through those first 2 years?
I mean, it was every single day. Like, you almost have to have blind faith. Like, one of my buddies, Nick Weta, is starting another clothing business, and he just launched his Kickstarter, and he calls me all the time, and I'm like, hey man, you just got to develop like blind faith. Like this is going to work out, because everything that you're seeing right now is going to be like, it's going to tell you like you shouldn't do this, but you got to know like, hey, you got to keep pushing forward. And one of the big things to help me though, after we finally got samples live and, you know, we found the right fabric, was I partnered with not a co-founder, but he was the first person that I brought on. His name is Carter Shea, and he was kind of similar situation like me. He had been working at PwC, which is an accounting firm, and me and him were talking friends. We would work out. We were buddies in high school, but then, you know, almost 8 years went by before, you know, where we didn't really talk every day. And he, after the Kickstarter, he goes, hey, I want to help you, and I believe in this. This is going to be big. And I think what that taught me was, you don't need like the whole world to believe in you, but if you put yourself out there, the right guy is going to come along and give you, because I probably at that point needed just like one person to say, hey, Steven.
Just
like,
a little push.
Just a little momentum.
Yeah.
And him believing me, putting a little money into the business and saying, hey, and being the right partner. Like he was an accountant by trade. He got his master's, and with me and him, we were the perfect opposites to start a business. So it was good.
And you did